Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Eating Disorder Hope webinar presentation tonight. We're so glad that you've taken time out of your day to join us. I am joined by the lovely Kristen Eykel, and we have a great topic to get into this evening and a great presentation lined up for you. But before we get started, I just wanted to point out a couple things. We will be having a question and answer portion as part of this presentation, and you will have the opportunity to submit any questions you might have for Kristen through the control panel that you should have open. So if you do have a question, feel free to submit it through the question pane of your control panel, and when we transition into the Q&A portion, we will be going through those questions. So without further ado, I am introducing our lovely guest here, Kristen Eykel, who is an established author, speaker, and so many other wonderful things. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Kristen.
Oh my goodness, thank you, Jacqueline. It is a pleasure to be here with you and with this community this evening. And yeah, thank you for inviting me to be a part of it.
Thank you. So, we're going to be discussing tonight how to avoid burnout as an eating disorder professional. And I think those professionals who have had the opportunity to work in the eating disorder community realize that we encounter the most gifted, amazing people. And unfortunately, with eating disorders, they're very complex diseases, and there's a lot that come with it, and there's a lot that come with serving as a professional in this community. So I'm excited that we get the opportunity to talk about this very pertinent subject. But before we delve into that, if you could just share with us a little bit about yourself, kind of the work that you've done. You've done so many wonderful things, and where you are now. We'd love to just hear a little bit about who you are.
Okay, well, thank you. So I actually started off my career, I was a model in Paris when I was really young, and it was not my aspiration to be a model. I was going to school to be a veterinarian, but girls got to pay for college, and so one thing led to the other, and I ended up being in Paris. And one of the amazing things at that time, it was 1988, and I had just turned 19 when I went to Paris. And, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, quite honestly, at that time. You can really imagine. I was 19 years old, and I had been to work in Tokyo and then got to Paris and suddenly was immersed in this super high-pressure, high-fashion world, and ended up staying there. I lived there for 3 years, but ended up being in that profession for like the next 10 years. I was 26 when I finally stopped. But one of the things that was kind of challenging for me was that and why the eating disorder conversation is near and dear to my heart is because as a 19-year-old being thrown into that pond, it was really sink or swim. You didn't have a lot of wiggle room. And what do the girls do but starve themselves? That's what we did. Because every week we would have a, sort of line up in the office of the modeling agency in our underwear, and we would be weighed and we would be measured, and they would write everything down on a little chart. And they would compare it, and if you gained too many kilos, you were sent home. And that was mortifying, and it was done in full view of everybody in the whole room, and everybody knew what your thing was. And if you were, if you'd gained a kilo, you were called a fat cow, and all kinds of other more colorful things. I learned French really quickly, and it wasn't just being in France. That was the community. That is the profession. And so, when you're that young, you don't have a lot of resources to pull back from. So what did I do? But I acquiesced, and because my career was very important to me, and at that time I was earning more money in a month than my parents made in a year, college was kind of off the table at that point. Like this was really what I was destined to do in that sense. And so I lived on, I wrote this in my first book, I lived on coffee and cigarettes and popcorn for a year. That's what I lived on. Every now and again, I'd have like a little salad here or a little thing there. But my boyfriend was also my agent. So if I happened to, eat a bite of birthday cake at someone's party, it was like, oh, Kiki, you're going to get fat. You cannot work, So there's a lot of pressure. And so as a result of that sort of pressure cooker, my outlet, what I really gave myself as sort of my saving grace was yoga. And I became a practitioner of yoga. My first teacher was a book, actually. And so I began practicing yoga in my apartment every morning, in the nude, honestly. And I didn't think about it at the time, and only later it sort of realized to me as to why I did that. But it's because I needed to learn to own my body. I needed
Hmm.
to see it not as a commodity and not as belonging to something else, but as my own, as living in it. And so
Hmm.
it became this very healing process for me to discover my being through yoga. I then subsequently moved to New York, and I still worked in modeling, got more into television, and then became a television host. I was a television host for many years, um, and then as a result began studying shamanism, Reiki, hypnotherapy, and became a certified hypnotherapist in 1992, actually.
Wow.
And in my sideline, that was not my job, that was my hobby, and but all the time I was, in media and in this, high pressure world, I always would look to my tools to support myself. And I
Hmm.
became very adept at learning to use these resources to help myself to stay balanced as much as I possibly could. I ended up going to Los Angeles for a television show, got married, had a couple of kids. And it was really in the breakdown of my marriage about 6 years ago when I decided I needed to, stop doing all the stuff that I was doing that was making me crazy, that I really began to deeply go back into the other aspect of my profession, which was the Reiki hypnotherapy and the yoga, and deeply immerse myself in this body, mind, spirit connection and how to utilize that in order to help a variety of people with a variety of circumstances. Because as you know, and as our, I'm sure, audience knows very well, when people are dealing with challenge, they start to fragment and they compartmentalize. And so they'll say, well, this part of my life is a problem, but everything else, this is all fine. I'm coping. I'm strategizing to cope. And we, as the professionals who help the people in that challenge, do the same thing, because we may have great tools that we use for other people, but I got to tell you, half of my personal practice now are therapists. So
Hmm.
I teach the teachers and I work with the teachers to assist them in continuing to find new levels of their own tools, new levels of their own awareness, so that they can go out and do the work that they're so called to do, this passion play that we all have to help our communities, whatever the community is, whether you're a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a therapist, a coach in any way, shape, or form. It really
Hmm.
does matter. How you self-care is going to translate into the care you give your community.
That's so beautifully said. And I think so relevant, especially to the eating disorder community, because I know so many professionals in the community itself who are so self-giving and want so deeply to see their clients and their patients recover and heal. And it's just this continual self-sacrifice, but you can't give unless you yourself are being taken care of. So we just really appreciate you sharing a little bit about yourself and your story. It's just amazing how much you've accomplished and how you're giving back through your own life
Mm.
experiences and the things that you've learned. So thank you for being here. So let's delve into this subject a little bit. I know you've had some experience and even through your own practice, but what do you think are some of the specific challenges that professionals face who are working in the eating disorder community?
I would say one of the most important things that anybody who works with anybody when there's a level of pain involved is to remember that you, the individual, you, the therapist, you cannot take on their pain. You're
Hmm.
not helping your community by taking it in. And we are empathetic creatures, we're intelligent creatures, and there's a part of us that wants to harmonize and sympathize with our clients or with our community, as if there's a way to absorb some aspect of their pain, to lift their pain, to carry it for them. We cannot do that. That's actually an old way that I think a lot of us in this world today learned to heal in the old days. So like back in the old days of antiquity, we would heal by, on some level, taking on the energy of our patient, of our student, of our client. And that the shamans actually, I mean, I did a lot of shamanism training. The shamans would actually bridge that gap between the physical and the non-physical world, but they would take the illness of the community into them and
Hmm.
then send healing back out. And I think a lot of us have that sort of old template about how healing would happen. Whereas actually something else really profound can occur, which is when we realize that we are not the healer. We are a placeholder for healing to happen within the space near us. We then
Mhm.
shift the way we spend our energy. So if we then realize that if we come with all of our knowledge and all of our awareness, but at the same time, we tap into something a little bit bigger, whether you want to call it your faith, your spirituality, your connection to the divine, your connection to Mother Earth, whatever it is that gives you that strength and that sense of power, belonging to something larger than you. Tapping
Mhm.
into that larger energy and holding space for the person before you who is in pain, our ego is then put to the side. And
Mhm.
that's really a very challenging thing for a lot of people to realize, is that the ego gets in the way. The ego is so loving and it wants to help. It wants to jump in and fix. We cannot fix. We
Mhm.
can never fix. That is our ego. When we
Mhm.
realize that our patient, our client, our community is in a certain amount of suffering, sure, but there's
Right.
also a lesson married to that suffering. And we can help by holding our own space and by holding our suffering away from theirs and
Mhm.
let them sit in that moment to discover the power of the lesson.
Mhm.
Magic can happen. An epiphany, a breakthrough can happen that is impossible to happen if we, the therapist, are injecting ourselves into their process. Now, it's
Mhm.
not the same thing as saying completely checked out and not engaging in any way, shape, or form. I
Right.
embrace my clients. I hug my clients. I look them in the eyes. I touch their body. I do energy work with them. I communicate with them on a visceral level, not just on an intellectual level. I bring my clients into their bodies. I don't bring their energy into my energy, however.
Mhm.
And how a therapist or a counselor or a healer will know that they've brought their work home with them is if you get out of the car, you get home, you get out of your office, whatever, and you've got a little hamster on a wheel in your head. It's going
Yep.
around and around and around about all that stuff, right? Yeah, I can feel a lot of
Yeah.
people nodding their heads, right? That means
Right.
you haven't let it go. And it's not just that you haven't let it go, it's that you means you let it land.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we have to remember that we cannot cure someone else's cancer by having cancer ourselves.
Mhm.
We must do our own work to keep
Yeah.
ourselves clean, clear, strong, and focused so that we can be exquisitely attuned to assist our community where they are and
Mhm.
allow them to have their process, allow us to support them. Our tools actually get better when we take our ego out of the way. It's amazing.
Mhm.
We'll have
Mhm.
things come out of our mouth. We're like, where did that come from? And it was the right thing at the right time. Your intuition will jump right in because you didn't start yesterday. Your whole life is in that moment. If you're
Yep.
46 years old, you have 46 years times 365 days of experience that you're bringing to that moment. Some of it is in
Mhm.
your training, and some of it is in your experience, and some of it is in the human consciousness. And when we
Mhm.
allow ourselves to be in that place of our knowing rather than in our thinking, we can
Mhm.
assist our community easier, and then we don't feel so taxed ourselves.
Mhm. Such powerful insight. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, even just speaking for myself and other, I'm sure professionals can also relate, but it's so easy to do that so subconsciously, without even realizing how often we take in other people's pain and carry it with us. So I appreciate you sharing that insight. It's very interesting. So let's talk more about burnout because I think a lot of people who are watching or listening to this can identify at least with some aspect of burnout or, if not fully aware, just at least knowing like something just doesn't feel
Something's
right.
a little off here, yeah.
Yeah, something's a little off. So, what exactly defines burnout in a work environment or just everything in general, like feeling like you're always stretched thin? I mean, what kind of criteria actually defines burnout?
Well, I would say all of those things actually are in play, but it will be a little bit different according to each individual. Okay, so for some people, they may feel really cranky and have no patience whatsoever, and just feel like pissed off at the world and think it's the government or it's their religion or it's their husband, it's somebody else's. They're just on the edge, completely have no
Right.
patience whatsoever. For other people, they will turn inwards. They will become depressed. They will
Mm.
start to experience physical unwellness as a result of unexpressed feelings. Now, we can see this in our clients. It's really hard to look in the mirror and see it for ourselves and think like, wow, what is that migraine headache trying to tell me that I'm, blocking or that I'm whatever. And so I'm often working to teach people to listen to the corporeal body. Listen to your body. What is he or she trying to tell you? Because again, we can live in our heads, but we are not our heads. We are a full 360-degree being. And as a
Mm.
yogi, so this is the yoga training, right? So as the yogi, we have to look at the whole system. We have to look at the balance. We do not have balance if we are only in our rational, analytical mind. That
Mm.
leaves the other 50% of your brain languishing. So you need to have that flow. Some people will, as I said, feel exhausted. Some people will feel tired. Some people feel pissed off. Some people will comfort eat. I mean, they'll have a whole, right, the whole litany
Yeah.
of coping mechanisms, right? So when you
Mm.
start to find that rather than feeling incredibly impassioned and joyful and excited about your prospect of going to work or being in that community or showing up at that convention, you start to feel burdened by it. That, in that feeling of the body, is your answer. Now, it's not
Mm.
to say that you necessarily need to quit your job. It might mean that you need to approach how you're doing your job a little differently. And that's
Mm.
why at the end of this call, when we do the meditation, I want to address that. Because as soon as you learn that you have different coping mechanisms that maybe are not helping you, and you can cultivate more empowered choices for that, clearly, again, just like we tell our clients, you can then support yourself first. You are your own first client. Think about
Right.
that.
Yeah, that's so well said and so important. And I like how you said it doesn't mean that you need to quit your job. And I think a lot of us who can identify that there's some degree of burnout may not necessarily know how to appropriately deal with it. Like maybe, some people might feel stuck in a certain position or if you're building your own private practice, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that needs to get done in addition to seeing clients. So sometimes it feels like that hamster cycle, like you were saying, just like never ending. So, what are some of your suggestions for applicable steps that a person can take to, appropriately deal with burnout when that recognition is there? That yeah, I do feel burnt out. I'm tired. I'm exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally. So, what can a person begin to do to start addressing that?
So I always start with a few really basic ones, okay? Number one, look at how you schedule your time. Now, the
Mm.
schedule of time could be a day, could be a week, could be a month. However one's schedule gets done. I live and die by my Google Calendar. If it's not on the Google
Yeah,
Calendar, it basically
yeah,
doesn't exist, okay?
exactly.
It's either on the calendar or it doesn't happen. So that's really, and I set reminders and I have like 9 calendars on my calendar. So because I'm not like overly the most organized, but I also have the value and I definitely respect my clients' time and the time that I've allotted to the people around me. So something like just organizing your calendar differently sounds really small, but it might make a huge difference. And
Right.
scheduling in opportunities for play or reflection or solitude or whatever that is. And again, it might not be every day, it might be every week, or it might be in some way during the month. So kind of like, when you're teaching your children to eat, you don't necessarily sweat every single meal. You kind of look at how is the meal overall for the day, right? So you have
Exactly.
to you have to give those healthier parameters for oneself. But if you're scheduled, and look, I do this too. I'll be scheduled from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. some days, 4 or 5 days in a row. I get it because that's when I have to do it, and that's when it works out. However, I may also take an hour, an hour to take a break, go to lunch, sit outside somewhere, and I pretend I'm in the south of France. And for that
Mm.
hour, I give myself the feeling as if I am 100% on vacation. Now,
Yeah.
it sounds really small and it's not huge, but it's massive in what its payback will be because you've given your body the permission to relax. You've
Mm.
given your mind the permission to relax, and you've given yourself the pleasure of just doing something that you enjoy. For me, having lunch by myself for an hour is like a giant luxury. Like I'll take a book, I won't work, and I'll just enjoy that. Now, I don't get to go every day. I certainly don't even get to go every week. But when I do go, I 100% switch off. And
Mm.
that also takes that stress hormone down out of the body and gives you a
Yeah.
chance to reboot. Okay? Simple thing. Another thing might be I'm a big proponent in meditation, okay? As the mind goes, the energy of the body will follow. So if you wake up the first thing in the morning and you're immediately like out of bed and running and like, okay, you
Checking your email, checking your phone.
did it. Oh my God, you've like lost it before you've even started the whole day, right? So
Right.
right, you're laughing because you know exactly. Like we lay in bed, we're like, oh my God, I did not start
Yeah.
today. It's ridiculous. So And I know a lot of working mommies will be like, no, but my kids are up at like 6 and I need all the sleep I can get. And okay, listen, I understand, right? I breastfed both of my kids. I was a work mom at the same time. I get it, right? I really do get it. And you have 4, you really do get it, okay?
Yeah, totally.
However, self-care demands a moment of reflection in the morning. It just does.
Mm.
And if that means you get up at 4 in the morning, which I used to do, because that's actually the best time to meditate, but whatever, I digress. If you get up at 4 in the morning and you meditate for 15 minutes in the moonlight with a candle by yourself, whatever it looks like for you, and then go
Yeah.
back to bed, and then you let your day happen from there. That little moment of connecting, that actually is the most powerful time on the theta brainwave state to connect to your brain. Also, according to the yogis, it's the most powerful time to connect because the earth is quiet. And so you
Mm.
can tap in and listen to the divine mind more peacefully, right? You may
Mm.
get inspirations, you may not get it. I don't care what it is. The point is not what you get. The point is what you allow.
Absolutely.
And so you
I,
start your whole day with a different sense of energy if you just gave yourself 15 minutes of reflection every morning.
mm,
I'm
that's so
also big.
powerful. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. I mean, look, I can talk about this all day because I think it's really important. The other thing I think is also really important is that right before you go to sleep at night, okay? The
Mm-hmm.
same way you would not go to bed in dirty clothing, you would take off your dirty clothes in the day, you would shower, you would self-care, wash, whatever you're going to do, and then you get into bed. So after your day is complete, no one's going to come bugging you, right? Hubby's asleep, kids are like whatever, like what lights are off, like there's no business anymore, right?
Right.
In that moment, we must clean our energetic field. Now,
Mm.
for people who don't know what the heck I'm talking about, I'll explain it briefly. Uh, Go to the quantum level, all we are is energy. We think we're just this body. We are this energetic being. We are this machine that vibrates energy around us, which is why when someone's standing a little too close, you're like, dude, you're in my private space. Like you can feel like other people's energy, right? You can feel when they're looking at you. You can feel
Yeah.
when someone's thinking about you, like, oh, I was just thinking about you. And there they are on the phone. Like you can feel energies. And those of you, I can feel people nodding their head. Those of you who are the most intuitive, perceptive ones, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So
Mm-hmm.
imagine if you were to come home at the end of the day with all that stuff like, Pigpen with that cloud around him from Peanuts, right? You got to clean that off. It might mean that you need to take a salt shower or soak your feet. It might mean that you need to do your prayers or do your gratitude work, do some journaling work. Those things are very helpful on one level. But the next layer that I will give you is that when you go to bed at night and everything is done, you lie in bed, you sort of imagine that you're, climbing a staircase or opening up a rainbow or going into some beautiful white light space, whatever it works for you, someplace really beautiful, really nurturing, really elevated. And in
Mm.
that place, you invite yourself to just breathe in sparkly white light or pink rainbows or whatever it is. You invite that moment of reflection of something higher, brighter, sweeter, cleaner to
Mm.
come into your being, to infiltrate your mind, and you at that moment just give up whatever it was from the day. Thank you for this day, thank you for this event, whatever it was. I just give the rest of it. I can't fix it now. I'm just going to give it up to source, and I'm going to go to sleep now. And then just allow yourself to go to sleep in that place. It
Mm.
clears and cleanses the energy field of your body, and it allows you to have a deeper, more restful sleep, which means when you go into your theta and into your delta sleep, you're going to not be processing that crazy town that you could have processed 5 minutes before you went to sleep. Done. Or at
Right.
least write it down, put it to the side, and deal with it the next day when you have time to deal with it, not at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not the time to deal with anything.
Right.
So those little practices, going to sleep in a peaceful state, waking up in a gratitude state, in that bright state, those two things alone, you're not taking time out from anybody else, but you're giving enormous benefit to yourself.
Mm. I love those suggestions. I think especially now, just given the culture that we're in, the way media is, the way that work is on our phones, it's so hard to disconnect from that rat race that we find ourselves in, our to-do list. And so I really like those suggestions. I think those are so important to keep in mind. So I appreciate you sharing that. Um, Sorry, I was just looking at some questions here. So you've talked a lot about addressing burnout or issues that come up, as a professional. I think those are all very common. Do you think burnout can be prevented? And if so, what suggestions do you have? Because I feel
Okay.
like once you're already in it, it's it's more difficult to undo. So if we can prevent it,
Clearly, clearly.
always desirable. So what are your thoughts on that?
So if you feel yourself on the edge, clearly it's time to start now. Like, don't wait until you're in burnout to like deal with it, right? So if you start to know something's not right here, there's something fishy going on in Denmark, deal with it now. As my teacher Yogi Bhajan would say, when the pressure is on, start, and then the pressure will be off. So generally, the pressure that we feel is because something's unaddressed, not because we're dealing with it, right? So the moment you start to feel like, I don't know, something feels weird, I don't feel great, that's when you start to listen in and check, right? So you don't let it go beyond the point, okay? That's number one. Number two is I'm a big believer in gratitude work. I'm a big believer in writing down our goals, our missions. Several times a year, I do I do a 6-week group called Planning for Success. And in that, I have people connect with their goals, their wishes, their dreams, their whatever. And then I give them practical ways to attend to that in a daily practice. And one of those practices that they cultivate through the course of this 6 weeks is to literally create a vision board. Now, so for anybody who's created a vision board or done so, if you've ever, and I would love to see people's response on this, like the show of hands, like who's done it, or questions about that, because the moment you do, you've taken your feeling of what you feel that you love, and you've put it up into an image, because our brain, our creative aspect of our brain, our subconscious doesn't work in words. Our subconscious works in feelings, textures, colors, and decorations, if you will, right? Images.
Right.
So when you take that feeling of what's important to you and put it up for you to remind yourself, it starts to work on that level consistently, and it reminds you of what your passion is. Because I don't think, certainly not anybody who's dealing with eating disorder or any other level of deep therapy work, none of us came to it because it was, just easy or free. We chose to do it. It was a choice to become this therapist as a sense of giving back. There is a level of connection on some level ourselves, or else we don't engage in this. One of my favorite tenets from the Course of Miracles is we teach and we teach and we teach until we learn it ourselves. And so each and every one of us who are therapists, teachers, healers, counselors, coaches, we are that because we are seeking that for ourselves on some level. And so when we're connecting with our community, if we remember that that opportunity with this person in front of us is a teacher sitting in front of us, our clients are our teachers, then we feel a sense of gratitude with them. We feel a sense of compassion with them and with ourselves, as allowing ourselves to constantly be the student, to learn and to grow and to evolve. And when we get stuck in our head of like, been there, done that, I know it, like there, I'm so great, you're stuck, you're over, I'm sorry, you're stuck. Always come to it in that place of openness, to be available to have the epiphany land, because that's when you're in the place of creation. That's when you're in the place of magnificent insight. You will not get insight at the level of been there, done that, I know this. You're screwed. As Einstein famously said, you cannot solve a problem at the level of the problem, which means you must get above it. You must get higher than that, which means you have to take your knowing and put it with your ego in the back seat and be in that place of awareness. When you're there, suddenly joy happens. There's space for love and compassion to happen. How can you get burned out if you're having love and compassion happening every single day in your office? Or with your clients on the phone? Okay, I happen to frickin' love what I do because I am in love with the people that I work with. I do not work with people that I do not love. Now, I'm not saying I love them, but that I feel that on some level that there is a beautiful joy and spark in there. And if I don't know what it is, I look for it because it's always there.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing your insight. And just as we kind of conclude this interview portion of our presentation tonight, what encouragement might you offer to someone who may be currently struggling with burnout in their job, in their life? What are your words of wisdom?
So what I would say is even the best coaches need coaches. Okay, really, really important. If you have a coach in your community whom you love and respect, reach out to them. Ask them to mirror you. Ask them to reflect back to you. Ask them to support you. Email me, email Jacqueline. Connect with someone whom you respect, whom you can sit in that place of reflection with and allow yourself to get insight. I have my coaches that I work with. I actually created a mastermind team to support people in my community, and I am a member of someone else's mastermind team so that I can continually be in that process of self-reflection. Again, we need our communities. And many times we, as the teachers, right, feel isolated. We feel at the pinnacle on some level. We sort of feel alone. And when we realize that we're not, that we're actually a network, you may not know that your network is like right next to you, but I guarantee you there's this network of healers and teachers all over the planet, all over the
Mm.
planet. And when we start to remember that and connect outwards in that way, we then not only don't feel isolated, we then feel empowered, we then feel strengthened. We supply the network supplies back to us. So it is
Mm.
important to reach out to your community. The same as you would have a mother. I work with a lot of women in pregnancy as well, and post-traumatic stress and all kinds of other things, birth trauma. And when that mother is in her deep, deep depression and she's like, ready to kill herself or do something horrible, like horrible stuff happens, as a result of the hormonal shift, right? You have to remind them, like, reach out. Like, it's important to reach out so they can be caught, so they can be shown you're not crazy, you're just having a moment where you need support. And as much as we need to support that woman, we also need to support ourselves.
Mm. Such beautiful words of wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kristen. And I know a lot of our community that is watching are, fully engaged in what they do with their clients, with their patients, and it's just such rewarding work. I've never met someone who works, like you were saying, in the eating disorder community who does not love what they do, but it's so easy to get burned out. And so I just really appreciate your insight and your wisdom. So we're going to transition into a Q&A period before you lead us in like some guided meditation, which we're super excited about. And just as a reminder to our attendees who are currently watching, if you have any questions that you would like to submit to Kristen to answer, you're welcome to enter them in the question pane of your control panel, and those will come to me, and then I can read those to Kristen. So feel free to go ahead and do that if you have anything pressing that you'd like to ask, and we'll ask it anonymously. We do have a couple of questions here, Kristen, to start with. One of our attendees is wondering, do you ever find or recommend that it's necessary to take a break and just like fully walk away from a job for a period of time if you're finding burnout?
Absolutely. So when I was separating from my husband, I needed to take 6 months off because that was what I needed to do for self-care. I needed to do that for my children. I needed to do that for myself. I could not basically at that moment put more than one foot in front of the other, much less support anybody else. I couldn't teach anybody anything at that moment because I needed to care for myself. And so that is what I did. And I do believe that when you get to that moment of like, life happens. Look, life happens. We find out we have illness. We find out our parents need us. We find out we're having trouble with our mortgage. Whatever it is, life happens. And we have to be responsible to our lives or else we're not responsible to anybody. You are the queen and the king of your own life and your own destiny, and you must take care of your own counsel. And if you know that you need to take a break, then take a break. It doesn't mean that you have to quit or go away forever. A break might mean a weekend. It might mean a 3-day silent retreat. It might mean immersing yourself on a yoga retreat. It might mean going to get a facial at the spa for the day. But if you know that you need time, do take your time.
Thank you for answering that. Let's see here. Another attendee is asking, what are some of your favorite self-care coping strategies?
Okay. Well,
Feel open to sharing.
I was going to say, like, how much of that do I share right now? Okay. So a few things. I do meditate every day, and I happen to truly be an energy junkie. And so I do that because I feel great when I do it, and I love how it feels, not just how it thinks, but how I actually experience it. But again, I've been doing it for a long time, so for me, I can sit and like drop into it in 5 minutes. Like I will leave my body in 2 seconds. Like you don't have to ask me twice. But for me, also, I like to learn something new. I like to learn something new. That gets me out of my mental routine and starts to cause new neural pathways, right? And so it starts to cause like a new sense of excitement, right? I read books from authors that I find inspiring. Let me also share with you, I really do believe that when we read or listen to or in some way exposed to the works and the words of other people who we find inspirational, whether that's His Holiness the Dalai Lama or anybody else, we borrow their brainwaves. And when you're borrowing the brainwaves of the Dalai Lama, for example, you can't help but feel differently. So find, Eckhart Tolle, whatever it is, I don't care, anything, doesn't matter. Maya Angelou, allow yourself to borrow the brainwaves of somebody whom you really deeply respect and let
Hmm.
that infuse you. Maybe it's reading the love poems of Rumi for 10 minutes, whatever. Maybe it's you and your partner giving each other foot massages.
Hmm.
Maybe it's you and your partner dancing together. I don't know. Find little ways of intimacy with self and your beloved. I do believe that that's a very, very powerful way to reconnect to what matters to us. When we start to get burned out, it's because we're living up here, guys. If you're living up here and you're not living here, you're going to get burned out. There's just only so much you can do from here. It's not meant to run the whole show.
Right.
Drop down
Absolutely.
into the body. Give yourself, get physical massage, get tactile experiences, scrub your body, go to the ocean and scrub your body with sand. Feel yourself clearing, cleansing, healing yourself in those ways. Those are things that I actually do. I write to myself. I have notebooks and journals going back to when I'm 13 years old of a whole
Wow.
bunch of crazy cockamamie stuff. Some of it's worthless and some of it's fabulous, but all of it was necessary for me to actually write. And something happens when you not just type, but you put pen to paper and you cause the writing to happen. The way it affects your brain and the way it connects to your emotions is very, very real. Take time
Hmm.
to sing, listen to inspiring music. Please don't have televisions in your bedroom. I'm sorry, it's the
Yeah.
worst thing ever. It will kill your sex life, it will kill your emotional creative being, and it prevents positive sleep. So try to
Hmm.
give yourself a media diet if you can. Try to switch off the negative media. I know it's been challenging, and a lot of what we process as individuals is what we're also processing on the collective. So
Sure.
listening to other people's collective pain is not a healthy diet, right? So it's kind
Right.
of like eating Cheetos all the time because everyone else is eating Cheetos. Like, stop with the Cheetos, right? So don't listen to the negative collective. Listen to the positive collective. And that also are some of my favorite coping skills.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Another one of our attendees is asking, I find it difficult to balance both motherhood and building a thriving private practice. Any words of advice on balancing the two?
Oh,
As a
yeah.
mom.
I'm sure Jacqueline and I can laugh about this one forever. We were talking about this the other day, right? Because, here she is, this mother of all these children. And I remember very clearly being on the computer, typing with my right hand and holding my breastfeeding baby in the left. I absolutely get it. It is challenging. What I can tell you, Goddess, depending upon how old your child is, the nights are long, the years are short. That's what I can tell you, right?
Mm,
So you will not do all of it at the same time excellently. You will do whatever that moment is excellently. So when you're
mm,
in the moment of motherhood, be in the moment of motherhood. When you're in the moment of dealing with a client, be in the moment with the client. And do not let them smush all together like they do. Like, it's not finger painting time. It's not.
yeah.
When I'm teaching, I tell my students, when you come into class, when you're coming in to be with your community, your teachers, whomever you're working with, your clients, you got to check your stuff at the door. All right, you've
Mm,
got to check your stuff at the door. My daughter had strep throat. She had a fever. She was whatever. I took care of her. She was well. I was 10 minutes late getting to class. I apologized. I said, I'm sorry. I had to deal with my daughter at the hospital. We're good now. I'm back. And then I was 100% present for them. I
right.
wasn't stupid about my daughter where she was safe. She was fine. Everything was cool. She was with her dad. It's all great. In that moment, I could be present for my students as
Mm,
much as when you're with your daughter or your son or your children or your family, be 100% present for them. Not be like, oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, I got it.
yeah,
Mommy. No,
right.
no, even if it's 10 minutes, put the phone on vibrate. The house is not going to burn down because you don't freaking answer a text. It's okay. It's okay
Exactly.
to be human. Have the little rituals that are important for you and your children and adhere to them. Also
Mm,
get teamwork and get help, whether that's your spouse or whether that's, your best friend or your mother-in-law or your nanny or whatever it is. Enlist help from your community. And maybe that's you and your teammate switch off child duties for one night a week so you can have
mm,
private time with your spouse. Or maybe that's, self-care and something that you just turn off everything and you can deeply connect with your little one. But you need to give yourself that balance. The balance does not happen unless you invent it. There's no such thing as balance in the work life. It is you inventing balance within yourself that you will then find it in the world around you. Does that make sense?
absolutely. Such great wisdom. I appreciate you sharing that. And I think that's such an important reminder. I think we just take everything on thinking I can do it all, but we can't do it all. We truly do need our community and the people around us.
Remember
So
that ego we were just talking about? That
yeah,
ego is like, oh, I can do that. No, you can't. Stop. Shut up. It's not. It's fine. It's okay. Like it's okay to ask for help. In fact, it's a blessing to ask for help because as much as if your best friend came to you and said, oh my God, like I really need your help, you'd be like, how can I help you? You would be
exactly.
honored to help your best friend. Okay, so be your own best friend and just freaking ask for help. Just stop with the. And that being said, y'all are goddesses. Like I respect each and every person who kicks butt and takes name. Like do it. But you got to get up early. You got to educate yourself. You got to, get that warrior mentality on, not for in the sense of fighting, but in that sense of glorying in what you have as your power. What is your passion? Own it 100%, unapologetically awesome. That's what I tell my team. Be unapologetically awesome.
Hmm.
And whatever it takes to be that, give it to yourself. And then your students, your clients, your team, your friends, your children will benefit from this healthy, happy family.
Absolutely. Thank you. So inspiring to hear. Just one more question, if you don't mind addressing. One of our attendees is wondering if you can expound on how you were talking about not getting into someone else's
Space.
space. Yeah, and if you can explain that more. Just curious. She's saying, I tend to find myself so emotionally invested in my clients, and it's hard not to take on their pain.
Okay, yeah. So what you just said there is the key word, emotionally invested, right?
Mm.
So the moment, and I'm going to switch into my yoga world here for the moment, so forgive me. Okay? The moment we open up our heart chakra and go, oh, right? That whole thing, like, oh, I'm so sorry. Either whether we're making that face or we're just sort of energetically feeling that, you have hooked yourself into them. You have
Mm.
now hooked your well-being into them doing something that serves you, okay?
Mm.
Now, nobody's doing it on purpose or doing it maliciously, but that's what we're doing. We're looking to feel okay ourselves by now having our client do something to satisfy us. And that's a slippery slope, okay?
Mm.
Now, the only way to get out of that is to remember. So everybody, this is part of what we're going to do in the meditation coming up. But to remember that you are a beautiful snow globe. Just pretend we're going to do this, okay? Everyone's going to pretend they're a beautiful snow globe connected to their own divine source. Your client is also not some fucked up teenager who's cutting themselves. Okay, you got to stop that. They are a divine spirit who's confused, who's having
Mm.
difficulty sorting out the truth. But if you can see them as already being beautifully perfect and intact, you don't try to fix them anymore. You then
Mm.
try to honor what works within them from what you know works within you, and you don't get that messy, siphoning, vampiric, I'm going to jump into you, you're going to jump into me, we're going to pull each other. It's like a codependent relationship in that sense, and we know those don't work, right? So
Right.
we cannot be that with our clients, with our students, with our team. We have to be in our own alignment, kind of like those bug zappers that when the mosquito comes, it like a little bright light goes. Okay, you have to kind of let yourself have like a bug zapper around you, so that when that stuff starts to try to land on you, you just zap it out and just send it to the light. Like don't take it on. Like go to the light, Marianne. Like let yourself be in that place of blessing. And what I
Mm.
tell my team all the time, my community all the time, is it's a little challenging, but think about this. Respect your community enough, your clients enough to bless them on their
Mm.
path. You don't have to agree. You don't have to hold their hand. You don't have to spoon feed them. Treat them as a divine wisdom soul and bless them on their path and feel that it is an honor to be of service to this old wise being that you
Mm.
get to help remember who they are.
Mm.
And then all the doing and the fixing and the jumping and all that just goes away. If you shift your perspective to hold one of a more self-respecting and of their respecting, all the doing goes away.
Mm.
And the healing actually happens quite a bit easier.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that insight. And one of our attendees just sharing feedback saying, this is incredible. Thank you for being a space holder for other space holders.
Woo-hoo! I just get a little tingle when you say that. It's absolutely true, and thank you for using that language. I tell people all the time, people are like, what the heck does holding space mean? Holding space is profound, and that's what we have to do to each other and for each other and for ourselves. And when we realize, so like I'm always telling people, like, remember, you're just a doorway.
Hmm.
Think of yourself as a doorway. And if you open the doorway and let the light shine through you, all the effort goes away. You're just
Mm-hmm.
holding the door open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
so
that's what
cool.
we can remember to do, and that's a yummy thing. So thank you for and so clearly I'm going to also thank you, Goddess, for holding space for so many others, because that's what we do. And if we can each see ourselves as these big open vessels,
Yeah.
it's easier for everybody.
Thank you so much, Kristen. We appreciate you taking the time to address these questions from our audience. I'm going to turn it over to you now to conclude our webinar here with a guided meditation, which we really are excited about and appreciate you taking the time to do. Once that's over, I know you'll give us some information where we can learn more about you and your practice and what you do and some resources that you have, and then we'll wrap up for the night.
That sounds awesome. Okay, so team that are in this space with me for the moment, I'm going to ask you to get very, very comfortable wherever you are, seated or lying down or whatever it is. You're not going to need to do anything in this moment, except please close your eyes, inhale deeply through the nose, and as you inhale through the nose, feel the belly expand with the breath. So just like you would put air in a balloon, the balloon would get bigger, right? So that's what I want you to feel happening deep down into your belly. Let your belly expand in every direction. And as you exhale, draw the belly inwards, releasing the air from the lower, the middle, and then the upper part of the lungs. Most of us do not take the time to effectively breathe or to effectively evacuate the old waste air out of our lungs. So in this moment, take this opportunity to fully breathe and fill yourself up with that beautiful, sparkly white light, that energy that pours right into your cells. And know and become aware that when you breathe deeply, oxygenating your lungs, your heart is pumping this blood in through the lungs. It's picking up these little particles of oxygen, carrying it through your entire body, carrying this information of well-being, health, vitality, balance, strength. And it's reporting it to your whole physical being. So take a moment now and allow that process to begin. And as you're allowing this oxygenated energy to travel throughout your entire physical body, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, also feel that the eyes close and roll upwards and inwards. Now, upwards and inwards is going to feel a little bit as if you were to open your eyes and look at the tip of your nose, that sort of feeling of crossing your eyes. But you're going to be crossing your eyes upwards and inwards, backwards into the center part of your mind. That is going to activate your pituitary gland. Your pituitary gland is the seat of your hormonal regulation. We call it the master gland. And it's about 1.5 inches behind the bridge of your nose, in between the two hemispheres of your brain. When you activate your eyes and put that little bit of pressure there, think of it as pushing the easy button. Add that to the breath and to the awareness of how good it feels to simply inhale and how wonderful it feels to evacuate the lungs completely. Notice that your body begins to relax. Because when you're breathing with the eyes closed, rolled upwards and inwards, you're activating those wonderful hormones of oxytocin, serotonin, melatonin, all those wonderful feel-good, relaxing hormones. You can turn them on. So just allow it, almost like you've got this beautiful wave of light that pours in from the top of your head and just travels down through the body, coursing with the oxygen from your lungs and that sense of intention to clear, cleanse, cool, balance, and relax yourself. As you do so, I'd also like you to experience that from the base of your body all the way down into the earth, there's a trap door at the base of your body, an aperture that opens. And this is directly connected to your root chakra, which is the color of ruby red. This travels down, 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 deep into Mother Earth, and I'd like you to feel yourself anchoring yourself down into the very core of Mother Earth. This helps you to feel grounded when you feel ungrounded. If you're all up in your head, you might feel anxiety or fear about the future, fear about money, fear about your survival or well-being, which means you need to work with grounding through your root chakra deep, 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 deep down into Mother Earth. As you're breathing and allowing that chute to open up at the base of your body, just imagine anything known or unknown to you drops through that chute down, 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 deep into the core of Mother Earth, releasing that which no longer serves you, known or unknown. Just have it be an intention and a choice, just to let everything go. And allow that to be a conscious practice that you give yourself frequently throughout your day. And after you've connected and just allowed that process to begin, just let the energy of Mother Earth begin to spiral upwards from your energy, connecting, mixing, mingling, spiraling back up through the energy of the earth, back up through your feet and tailbone, back up through your spine, traveling up to the very crown of your head and opening at the crown of your head, maybe feeling a little sparkle or tingle or brightness or little bubbles, a little sense of effervescent as the crown chakra, that connection at the top of your head, opens up. And allow your awareness to travel up out of the top of your head, getting brighter and brighter, shinier and shinier, going up into that sparkly white star field of divine all that is. Whatever you know it to be, we all have this place of when we connect to that beautiful, luminous, radiant, sparkly white, that sensation of feeling safety, of home, of peace. And allow yourself to continue to expand that awareness up, 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 as if you're passing through the neck of a kaleidoscope and feeling all of these beautiful colors, red and gold and orange, indigo, turquoise, blue, green, all melding together as you come through the threshold, through all of those beautiful colors, passing through your skin, enlivening you, brightening you, giving you that sense of enthusiasm, effervescent joyousness. Let yourself pass through that barrier into that beautiful divine white light, all that is. And experience yourself as if you are in this sparkly snow globe of light. And all around you is this fluffy, radiant whiteness. Let yourself feel that joy, that expansiveness, that sensation of being home. And as you breathe into that beautiful place, I would like you to experience that before you is a place of bright, brilliant white light, so bright that if you had human eyes, you could not gaze upon it. And from that light appears your teacher, the highest, radiant, most divine being you could ever imagine. Perhaps it's an angel, perhaps it's a mentor, perhaps it's an ancestor. Allow yourself to be in presence with this beautiful, bright light. And become aware that they have a gift for you. The gift may be an object, it could be a word, it could be a knowing, it could be an awareness. And allow yourself to receive this gift now and know what this gift is, its relevance for you, and why it has been given to you. And inhale deeply and feel yourself accepting this gift. And let it become part of you. Let it lodge into your being in any way that you need to receive it. And know that this is relevant for you. Know that this is something that is important for you to cultivate, to give to yourself, and to receive with graciousness now. Thanking this teacher for this gift, and knowing that at any time you wish, you can always come back and be in presence with this teacher. I would like you now to experience yourself as this beautiful, sparkly white snow globe. And you are sitting within. Your entire being is sitting within. And all around you, you are floating in that place of the cosmos, that place of the infinite void. And noticing that there are stars all around you, millions and trillions of stars. And the amazing thing is that if you can see the star, it means that the star can see you, that there's a direct path of light between you and that star. So allow yourself almost as if each one of those stars has its own little path of light, like a laser beam that attaches to you. And as you do so, notice that you attach to each and every one of those as well. It is a sense of reciprocity. And that each and every one of those stars that have direct line of sight between them connect to each and every one of those available within that line of sight. And begin to experience this as a web of connectivity. And as you breathe and become aware of this web of connectivity between you and all of these stars, all of these other beings, all of these other light workers, healers, teachers, coaches, all of these other beings who have chosen to allow themselves to be a vehicle for healing, for blessing, for change in this community that we share, in this dimension we know of as 3D reality in Earth. We experience that we are this network. And allow yourself as you breathe and feel that beautiful light pouring through your being. Watch it pulse like a laser beam through this entire web. And notice how it spreads outwards in a ripple effect. Now this star field is 360 degrees around you, above you, below you, beside you, all around you. And feel yourself as you experience yourself in the center of this web, pulsing this beautiful beam of light out to you. Notice that as it pulses out, those other beings are also pulsing it back to you. And that you feel that sense of reciprocity, you feel that sense of connection, you feel that sense of healing and unity. And know that whatever you put out into that universal star field, into that web of connectivity that we all share, it comes back to you at least threefold, if not tenfold. That as you send it out, it ripples back to you effortlessly and easily, expanding your sense of awareness, expanding your sense of being, and you feel yourself beginning to grow, becoming higher and brighter, shinier and shinier, more and more radiant, having more and more epiphany, understanding, and connectivity, knowing that you are one of a star field of millions of other light workers, teachers, healers, coaches on this planet and at this time. And inhale that awareness into you. And allow this knowing to influence you in a way that causes you to feel supported, causes you to feel strengthened, causes you to feel balanced, so that you know that you can reach out and find and connect to any number of millions of beings all around you. Know that these are all teachers in different guises. Some may be your family, your friends, your community. Some may be your clients. Some may be people you have yet to meet but have read about. Allow yourself to feel that amazing connectivity and honor yourself for allowing yourself to connect, and honor them and thank them for reminding you that you belong in this constellation of these stars, that you are a valuable member, and that as you strengthen, elevate, heal, and support yourself, you actually strengthen more deeply the community around you, causing them to ripple it outwards into their connective collections of beings. That as you elevate, strengthen, and support yourself, you give permission to those around you to do the same, and they spread that beautiful network wider. Imagine now that that beautiful constellation of beings is like a framework or a fabric completely surrounding this earth. Know that it is true. Feel the sense of connection wherever you are on the planet at this moment. Feel that fabric, that framework, that web spreading out around you, from you, influencing and supporting and guiding this community. And then take another deep breath. Thank yourself for holding space of light on this planet, and thank yourself for having the wherewithal, the guts, and the strength and sense of integrity within your being, a structural integrity within your being, to keep honing and strengthening yourself, to keep educating, supporting, and finding your passion every day. I want to thank each and every one of you for participating. I want to thank each and every one of you for shining so brightly and inspiring so many. Your work is valuable. It is rich, it is beautiful, and we all need each other in order to succeed. Inhale deeply. And on your next breath, feel all of that beautiful awareness pouring into you like water into a glass, saturating your entire physical, mental, emotional, spiritual being, traveling down your feet, deep into the earth to once again connect to Mother Earth, saturating Mother Earth with this divine blessing, this grace, and this awareness that she too is a powerful member of this team. Feel that energy spiraling back up into your body, coming out of the top of your head like a fountain, sparkling, energizing you 360 degrees in your energetic bubble of light. Letting it come around you like a donut of energy back to the earth, back up through you, like this Mobius strip of connection. Take another long, slow, deep, easy breath. Feel yourself sparkly and alive, vital, rejuvenated. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes and circle your wrists and ankles. And when you're ready, open your eyes, coming back to the here and now, feeling amazing in each and every way. Reminding yourself to give yourself this practice over and over and over again. And welcome back.
Thank you so much, Kristen. That was beautiful and hopefully very rejuvenating for all our wonderful attendees who have joined us tonight.
How do you feel?
I feel relaxed. I'm like, oh, thank you so
Right?
much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Just as we wrap up, I know you have so many incredible resources and things that you're involved in. Where can some of our attendees go to learn more about you? I know you have some books out. Can you just share a
Absolutely.
little bit with us in closing?
Thank you. Absolutely. By all means, please do connect with me online. My website is www.kristeneikel.com. It's my name, pretty straight up. As well, I have an amazing, I talked about the 6-week program, Planning for Success. There she is. You can buy it on Amazon. You can also find it on my website. And not only can, I mean, you can buy the book and just do it at home yourself every day, but you can also do it either as a downloadable course where I sort of send you these videos, or I do one group coaching 1 day a week for the entire 6 weeks. Actually, it comes out to 7 sessions. I'm in the middle of a session right now, but I will be starting a new session in the new year. And I do invite people to attend to that because I'm telling you, miracles happen. Because the moment you sit in presence with yourself and really start to look and reflect about where your power is and where you stopped yourself, you then have power to do something about it, right? And so it
Mhm.
really does happen to help a lot of people. I actually have people who are now doing it for the fourth time with me.
Wow.
It's not like you only do it once and like suddenly you're healed. You get to go deeper and deeper, like anything else, right? The more you deeply investigate, the more you discover, and then you have the opportunity as a blessing. Not that you're so broken, you need to like do so much. It's that you get to have the opportunity to find more and more, to plumb those deep riches within yourself. As
Sure.
well, I am on Facebook and on Twitter, same name, Kristen Eykel, Kristen Eykel, and I'm kind of all over the place. So just Google me, reach out, please do ask me. It is quite an honor to be of privilege and of support to my community. I really do love my work. I really love this community, and anytime I can be of help, it just supports the whole network, right? We all benefit. So
Oh,
thank you.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Just such an honor to have you with us. And we just so appreciate your wisdom and your insight and your encouragement. So, thank you again for taking the time to just bless our community in this way. And to our audience that's watching, thank you again for joining us this evening. We hope that this information has been helpful for you. If you're in need of any resources, we also have a ton of things on our website, eatingdisorderhope.com, for both professionals and consumers. So we'd love you to check it out, as well as our schedule for upcoming webinars that we hope you'll join us for. So, on behalf of Kristen and Eating Disorder Hope, we wish you all a wonderful evening and thank you again. Good
Thank you
night.
so much. Have a beautiful evening, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. Bye.